Over the last centuries, Europe brought to humanity many of the greatest breakthroughs. Think about great inventions such as the telephone, the printed press, cinema, the World Wide Web, or the telescope. Or inventions of our daily lives such as eyeglasses, soft contact lenses, Swiss Army knives, or perfume atomizers. Europe is all about this creativity and the continuous aspiration for innovation and improvement. Our journey begins in Portugal in the 15th century with the groundbreaking invention of the caravel. The creation of new inventions in Portugal was at its peak during the Age of Discovery. Most Europeans now associate sea navigation with big and strong boats, and we tend to forget how breakthrough the invention of the caravel in the 15th century was. Let's consider that until this invention, Europeans were limited to coastal cabotage navigation using ancient Mediterranean cargo vessels of around 50 to 200 tons. These boats were fragile, with only one mast with a fixed square sails that could not overcome the navigational difficulties of southward oceanic exploration, so not up for adventures. With the caravel, navigation became easier, with small, highly maneuverable sailing ships which enabled Portuguese navigators to explore the Earth during the Age of Discovery. As we traverse the vast corridors of time, the landscape of history shifts and we find ourselves emerging in Spain in the year 1935. Emilio Herrera Linares designed and built a full-pressure suit called Escafandra Estratonautica. At that time, the suit even included a microphone to be able to speak, an anti-vapor breathing system, thermometers, barometers, and various instruments for measuring and obtaining samples. When tested at Cuatro Vientos experimental station, the suit's pressurized mobility was found to be thoroughly satisfactory, according to its inventor. Next, we venture across the border into France, the romantic heartland of Europe, a place steeped in history and culture. The Lumiere brothers are generally considered as the inventors of cinema. But at the end of the 19th century, other genius inventors had found processes capable of projecting moving images or photographs. In France, the praxinoscope attracted a large audience at the Grevin Theatre, while in the US, Thomas Edison tried to launch his kinetoscope, or peephole viewer. However, none of these machines would encounter the success of the cinematograph presented by the brothers on the 28th of December 1895 at the Grand Café in Paris. Chester Hjortur Thordarson was an Icelandic-American inventor who was instrumental in the development of the modern energy transmission grid with his work on transformers. Thordarson's first opportunity of distinction came through his association with universities. An order came from Purdue University that requested building a 500,000-volt transformer to be exhibited at the 1904 St. Louis Fair. It was slated to be used for experimental purposes at Purdue thereafter. 11 years later, Thordarson built a 1,000,000-volt transformer and received a gold medal for the accomplishment. Irish people have changed the world. The first submarine to be used by the US Navy was invented by an Irishman, John Philip Holland. In 1897, he launched a submarine that was powerful enough to travel for 4 hours beneath the surface of the water. It was the first of its kind and superior to similar vessels being developed in France. It was powered by both electric motors and gasoline engines. The US Navy was suitably impressed and purchased the submarine in 1900, and it became known as USS Holland. The Navy then ordered 6 more to be built. Alexander Graham Bell was the first to obtain a patent in 1876 for an apparatus for transmitting vocal or other sounds telegraphically, after experimenting with many primitive sound transmitters and receivers. Bell was also an astute and articulate businessman with influential and wealthy friends. The concept of aerosol originated as early as 1790, when self-pressurized carbonated beverages were introduced in France. However, it was not until 1927 that the Norwegian engineer Erik Rotheim patented the first aerosol can and valve that could hold and dispense products and propellant systems. This was the forerunner of the modern aerosol can and valve. Commercial exploitation of the patent was not significant until it was introduced in the United States in the 1940s. Several pioneers designed a version of the thermoscope at the same time. In 1593, Galileo Galilei invented a rudimentary water thermoscope, which for the first time allowed temperature variations to be measured. But it was not until 1742 that the Celsius scale was invented by Swedish astronomer Anders Celsius. The Celsius temperature scale is also referred to as the centigrade scale. Centigrade means consisting of or divided into 100 degrees. The Celsius scale has 100 degrees between the freezing point, 0 degrees C, and boiling point, 100 degrees C of pure water at sea level air pressure. And to complete this great story, the term Celsius was adopted in 1948 by an international conference. The invention of heart rate monitor is to be found in a cold Nordic country with a strong ski culture. The first wireless heart rate monitor was invented in 1977 as a training aid for the Finnish national cross-country ski team, and A's intensity training became a popular concept in athletic circles in the mid-80s. Retail sales of wireless personal heart monitors started in 1983. On Christmas Eve 1915, an expectant crowd of 75,000 people stood in front of the City Hall in San Francisco to watch the Danish inventor Peter L. Jensen demonstrate the world's first loudspeaker. Cheers erupted as the singing voice of a well-known opera diva of the day filled the airwaves and resonated over a distance of 1.5 kilometers. In the USA, Peter L. Jensen was regarded as the Danish Edison, and one of the most expensive loudspeaker brands is still called Jensen. Peter L. Jensen later said that he came to regret his invention when he heard how Hitler and other dictators misused loudspeakers as a propaganda weapon. Who invented the telescope? The answer is still a mystery. It is highly probable that as lens grinding techniques improved in the late 1500s, someone held up 2 lenses and discovered what they could do. However, it is commonly acknowledged that the first person to apply for a patent for a telescope was a Dutch eyeglass maker named Hans Lippershey. In 1608, he tried to lay claim on a device with 3 times magnification. His telescope had a concave eyepiece aligned with a convex objective lens. One story goes that he got the idea after observing children in his shop holding up 2 lenses that made a distant weather vane appear close. The World Wide Web is half Belgian. The name Robert Cailliau may not ring a bell to the general public, but his invention is the reason why you are watching this. Dr. Cailliau, together with his British colleague Sir Tim Berners-Lee, invented the World Wide Web, making the internet accessible so it could grow from an academic tool to a mass communication medium. In 1989, Tim Berners-Lee proposed a hypertext system for access to the many forms of documentation at and related to CERN. During this time, Cailliau co-authored a proposal for funding for the project, for which he even designed the first www logo. Etienne Lenoir was born in Moussy-la-Ville, which is now part of Belgium, but the city was at that time in Luxembourg. Mr. Lenoir was not the first one to patent the invention of the internal combustion engine, but he was the first one to commercialize it in sufficient quantities to be considered a success. By 1859, Lenoir's experimentation without electricity led him to develop the first single-cylinder 2-stroke engine which burnt a mixture of coal gas and air. Most applications of the Lenoir engine were as a stationary power plant powering printing presses, water pumps, and machine tools. They proved to be rough and noisy after prolonged use, however. Around the late 1430s, a German man named Johann Gutenberg was quite desperate to find a way to make money. Gutenberg already had previous experience working at a mint, and he realized that if he could use cut blocks within a machine, he could make the printing process a lot faster. However, instead of using wood blocks, he used metal instead. The German goldsmith's contribution to technology became then revolutionary, enabling the mass production of books and the rapid dissemination of knowledge throughout Europe. The Kaplan turbine is a propeller-type water turbine which has adjustable blades. It was developed in 1913 by the Austrian professor Victor Kaplan, who combined automatically adjusted propeller blades with automatically adjusted wicket gates to achieve efficiency over a wide range of flow and water levels. Kaplan turbines are widely used for electrical power production, They cover the lowest head hydrocytes and are especially suited for high-flow conditions. During the late 1880s, the Swiss army decided to purchase a new folding pocket knife for their soldiers. This knife was to be suitable for use by the army in opening canned food and disassembling the Swiss service rifle, the Schmidt-Rubin M 1889, which required a screwdriver for assembly. The first knife had a blade, reamer, can opener, screwdriver, and grips made out of dark oak wood. At that time, no Swiss company had the necessary production capacity, so the initial order for 15,000 knives was placed with a German knife manufacturer. The radio, which revolutionized communication and entertainment, enabled us to listen to news, music, and stories from around the globe. Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi is credited with the invention of the radio in the late 19th century. He transmitted the first transatlantic radio signal on December 12, 1901, marking a pivotal moment in history and laying the foundation for modern radio broadcasting. The invention of soft contact lenses belongs to a Czech inventor. The first practicable soft contact lens was produced in 1961 by Otto Wichterle on a device he set up on his kitchen table, consisting of a gramophone motor and bits from a toy construction set. He tried the lenses in his own eyes, and although they were the wrong power, they were comfortable. The lens was spun from a plastic that retained water and stayed moist on the eyeball. In essence, this is the way soft lenses are still produced for the 100M people around the world who prefer them to spectacles. Otto Wichterle never became rich. The state sold his discoveries for whatever it could get. Stefan Barnik from Slovakia built the first parachutes to see use beyond the experimental stage, patenting it in 1914. Having witnessed a plane crash in 1912, Barnik constructed a prototype of a parachute in 1913 and tested it in Washington, D.C. before U.S. Patent Office and military representatives, jumping first from a 15-story building and subsequently from an airplane in 1914. Barnik donated his patent, number 1,108,484, to the U.S. Army. He received little fame or fortune for his invention, but his parachute saved the lives of many American aviators during World War I. In gratitude, he was made an honorary member of the Army Air Corps, now Air Force, and the Society. Did you know that the bulletproof vest was actually invented by a Polish priest in 1893? When he wasn't baptizing, burying, or marrying people, Kazimierz Zeglin indulged in his secret passion for bullet-resistant clothing. Having experimented with jackets stuffed with hair, moss, and week-old donuts, Zeglin finally hit on the idea of using that notoriously tough and resistant material silk. Zeglin proved it worked by bravely volunteering a friend to be shot 8 times in the chest. In June 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, was wearing a silk bulletproof vest when he was attacked by a gun-wielding assassin. But he was shot in the neck. This is probably the most modern and well-known Estonian invention in the world today. Skype, a system of peer-to-peer telephone, was invented and written by Estonian software developers Arti Heinla and Priit Kasesalu. The program is widely popular because it allows users to communicate by video using a webcam or by voice chat using a microphone. With its name derived from the words sky and peer, and originally named Skyper, the inventors had to register domain names skype.com and skype.net, as skyper.com was not available. The very first version of Skype was released in August 2003, but it is now owned by Microsoft. In 1937, the State Electrotechnical Plant, VEF, launched production of the first miniature camera in the world, VEF Minox, produced in 1936 by the Latvian Walter Zapp, a camera smaller than a cigar and weighing less than a cigarette lighter, and featuring an excellent lens. After World War II, the camera was redesigned and production resumed in Germany in 1948. Originally envisioned as a luxury item, the original Minox camera gained wide notoriety as a spy camera and extremely popular during the Cold War. It was used by both sides of the Iron Curtain. The innovative design and technical solutions of Zapp's camera were patented around the world. In 1931, Ukrainian Igor Sikorsky invented and patented the world's first helicopter. Today, the National Technical University of Ukraine, KPI, is named after the aircraft designer. The first prototype had an open cockpit, a belt drive, and a Franklin engine. Already in 1940, Sikorsky was able to lift the machine with propellers into the air and make a controlled flight. The first customer was the United States of America, which purchased Sikorsky helicopters to arm its army. Later, the Ukrainian developer became the owner of a powerful concern. The astrophysicist and astrobiologist Gavril Adrianovich Tikhov originated the idea of the feathering spectrograph. Most glass lenses show the effect of chromatic aberration, in which rays at different wavelengths from a star are not focused at a single point on a photographic image, but instead form a round halo. Tikhov installed a special ring-shaped diaphragm in front of the astrograph objective to enable the brightness distribution along the radius of such halos to be studied, and so provide data on the color distribution of stars of different spectral classes. These studies emerged and formed a new branch of astronomy called G.A. Tikhov astrobotany. It's hard to choose just one of Nikola Tesla's hundreds of inventions, but the Serbian-born inventor in today's Croatia is perhaps most famous for developing alternating current, the system that powers our homes and businesses even today. It also sparked the feud between Tesla and Thomas Edison, whose direct current system was more dangerous, though Edison claimed otherwise. To make his case, Edison occasionally electrocuted animals to prove the dangers of AC. In response, Tesla sent alternating current through his own body at low voltages, using it as an electrical conductor to light bulbs and proving the system's safety. "Look at this, my son. This is the best book that I've ever read," said Hassan Masurika to his son Fehmi. The book was about Leonardo da Vinci, written in Arabic. The idea of constructing an airplane which would fly had come exactly from reading about various inventions of da Vinci. Hassan Masurika expressed his will of building such a device to members of the community, but always complained he lacked the materials and elements of realizing this idea. One day he bought poplar and fabric which he softened with wax in order for air not to pass through. One windy summer day in 1899, Hassan called his neighbors and his admirers to come and see him lift the airplane. One of the most commonly used gadgets these days, the alarm clock, had its origin in ancient Greece. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato said to possess a large water clock with an unspecified alarm signal similar to the sound of a water organ. He used it at night, possibly for signaling the beginning of his lectures at dawn. The Hellenistic inventor Ctesibius, 285–222 BC, fitted his clepsydrus with dial and pointer for indicating the time, and added elaborate alarm systems which could be made to drop pebbles on a gong or blow trumpets at preset times. With the proper sophistication of technology, the alarm clock went afterwards through a number of changes. It is a major invention for the automotive sector, and it comes from Bulgaria, the automatic gearbox developed by Rumen Antonov. The invention, which cuts fuel costs and is applicable to small cars, has been patented and sold to major auto companies, including Honda, Renault, Peugeot, Rover, Daimler Chrysler, and Suzuki. The automatic gearbox is a type of transmission for motor vehicles that automatically changes the gear ratios that the vehicle can achieve, thereby freeing the driver from having to make the change manually. Like other transmission systems, it adapts to the internal combustion engine, ideally at a relatively high speed. We owe to Lithuania the invention of a modern system to classify stars from ground-based observations. The Vilnius photometric system is a medium-band 7-color photometric system, created in 1963 by Vytautas Strazys and his co-workers to optimize the classification of stars and ensure the possibility to measure faint stars. The Vilnius standard photometric system is said to have several advantages over other photometric systems. Reduction procedures free of systematic errors, a homogeneous set of standard stars, accurate dereddening, spectral classification and calibration of physical parameters for normal stars, and a good detection rate of abnormal stars. In 1943, during Nazi German occupation of Slovenia, Peter Floriancic decided to join a friend to Kitzbühel, Austria, knowing he would be called up to serve in the German army on the Eastern Front. He became there a prolific inventor. His successful inventions have included the perfume atomizer, plastic injection molding machines, and the plastic photographic slide frame. In his biography, he wrote, "I've had 5 citizenships, 43 cars, and the longest passport. The profession of inventor forced me to spend 25 years in hotels, 4 years in cars, 3 years on trains, a year and a half on airplanes, and a year on board of ships." In 1929, Hungarian physicist Kálmán Tihanyi invented the infrared-sensitive night vision electronic television camera for anti-aircraft defense in Britain. The first conventional thermographic cameras began with the development of the first infrared line scanner. This was created by the US military and Texas Instruments in 1947 and took 1 hour to produce a single image. While several approaches were investigated to improve the speed and accuracy of the technology, one of the most crucial factors that needed to be considered dealt with scanning an image, which the AGA company was able to commercialize using a cooled photoconductor. Dr. Stefan Odobleja is known as the father of cybernetics. Practically, he is the inventor of the modern cybernetics, as he published in 1929 Method of Transonic Chest, which states the first law of reversibility. Despite poverty-stricken and in some ways a difficult life, he managed to remain productive. His completed works in cybernetics run to over 50,000 pages. As a reminder, cybernetics is the theory of control by retroaction. The term has spread especially related to digital systems, but the field is much wider. It deals with how a system, digital, mechanical, biological, processes information and reacts to these, also is interested in how cyber-based systems allow changes. In conclusion, this encompassing video has taken us on an engaging and insightful journey through time, highlighting the significant and impactful contributions of countless European inventors who have played a major role in shaping the world as we perceive it today. The contributions of these inventors span a wide range of societal aspects, from technology and healthcare to transportation and communication, affecting every stratum of human life. From the caravel to the heart rate monitor, these inventions have revolutionized various aspects of our lives. They serve as a resounding testament to the ingenuity and innovative spirit of European inventors, who continue to push the boundaries of what's possible year after year. Thanks for watching. If you disagree, please